The Harold Washington Library Center. Beautiful, imposing, massive, and at first sight, sometimes a little frightening. But inside, there's a warm welcome and helpful information thanks to the volunteers who make up the Docent program.
The Docent program began when the Harold Washington Library Center opened its doors in October of 1991. Volunteers in the Docent program perform many essential tasks that assist library workers in providing quality library service.
The word docent is a Latin derivative meaning teacher, lecturer, or qualified guide. Volunteers in the Harold Washington Library Center's Docent program work as docents giving tours, at the directional desk providing patrons with general information and directions, assisting in the Harold Washington exhibit, or helping out in the main office. Each volunteer has a personal touch to better assist you.
And it's very interesting for everybody, and I would like to help any Spanish-speaking person that might come into the library and may not know where anything is.
I have been privileged to help conduct the architecture lectures for a docent training class, and also when special groups come in, architects, urban designers, interior decorators, then I can come in and provide that extra special interest in the architecture. Because when tour groups are come in, they're allowed to ask what they're primarily interested in. Well, yes, I do writing for we have a docent manual, and I have written. I have edited some of the architectural work in it and rewritten some of it, and I have also added a great deal of material with I think that I can do this well because I'm looking at it from what the docent thinks the public wants to know. So therefore I can explain it in a way to the docents so that they can hand it out to the public in a way that the public can understand and take care of it. I also try to create levels, so I had tried to help docents to understand how to experience the space even as a non-technical person, and how to translate that to the people. And I also provide levels so that if somebody wants to say more about the architecture, then they can do the studying. I give them study guides and whatnot so they can learn more about the architecture.
Specialists that come to visit, and they want to have some information, and if you're not giving it to them, I guess they go back a bit disappointed. I remember I was amazed because I had just read that the columns here, because it's an open space more or less in the center of each floor, that the columns were 21 feet on center. And an architect said, well, how do you know that expression on center? Well, I said, it's my training, you know, and it's something that had attracted my attention. And so I gave it back to him, and he was quite pleased to know that. I've been giving tours, more the special tours, like for architectural groups, art-oriented groups, like the Women Board of the Art Institute, for instance. At one point I gave a tour to city planners, so they were all architects.
Library volunteers conduct public and private tours. To date, they have conducted over 1,500 tours for community and professional organizations, church groups, and school children. They have educated over 31,000 people about the library's programs, services, art, and architecture. They certainly help bring the library alive.
There is a great variety of questions. Of course, another one frequently asked is, how do I register to get a card? And we're delighted with that because we want people to read.
A lot of the people don't know about the history of the library, and we enjoy telling them about how the library got started after the fire. There was no library in Chicago, and two English scholars, one of whom was Thomas Hughes, for whom the Children's Library is named, gathered together about 8,000 books and presented them to the city of Chicago, which had this great disaster in the Midwest of this new country, America. And little did they know that we didn't have a library. Joseph Padilla, the mayor at that time, got the city council to appropriate some funds for the first Chicago Public Library.
One of the most important functions is the oversight of the library's main directional desk. To date, library docents have answered over 84,000 inquiries. They are truly invaluable.
Chicago is home to people from all walks of life. And like this international city, docent program volunteers are as diverse as our patrons.
I was born in Puerto Rico, raised in New York City, went to Rochester, New York, and I lived there for 14 years. From Rochester, New York, came to Dallas, Texas, and I lived there 10 years. Now I'm here in Chicago. It's been 3 years.
So I had a very strong Skokie connection. I was chief librarian of the Skokie Public Library for 29 years prior to retirement in 1984, or 85, excuse me.
I started out in Montgomery, Alabama with the SCLC, which was the Alabama Improvement Association that turned into SCLC, and I joined Martin Luther King at a rally when he was first elected spokesman for the Alabama Improvement Association during the bus boycott. I migrated to Chicago and joined Operation Breadbasket under the leadership of Reverend Jesse Jackson, and I have been working under him and with Operation Push for the last 25 years.
I'm a French Canadian. My husband is here as a diplomat with the Canadian Consulate General. He's the Deputy Consul General here. We've been posted in Chicago for, well, nearly 3 years now. And it was very exciting for me when I heard that we were moving to Chicago, because I had just finished my studies as an interior designer back home. And I thought that this would be so great to come to Chicago, where really the modern architecture started after the fire of 1871.
I was an administrator at the University of Chicago Graduate School of Business, and I retired in 1988. But by that time, I had been doing 8 years of tours for the Chicago Architecture Foundation. Mm-hmm. I'm also a church music director. I direct the church choir on the South Side.
Each volunteer has made a commitment to assist the library in providing quality library service. That commitment is evidenced in their work and their words.
I saw this building going up and up, and I thought it looked so interesting, and I said, I have to find a way of knowing more about it. So I said, well, I guess I'll become a docent here.
Harold Washington was not only the mayor of the city, but he was my friend long before he was elected. I worked with him in his state representative office. I knew Harold Washington in the areas 33rd, 35th to 39th Street. So we go a long ways back. And when I first came here and visited this edifice and saw that this really, it was a great tribute to a great man. And so I wanted to become a part of it. I want to be a part of not only a great edifice, but a service center that people can come in, they can learn to read, they can get GED here, there is languages, and it's so much here to service the public. And we have one of the finest children library, bar none.
My husband was involved with the Harold Washington because he was the project manager, and I was very interested because I started seeing the project being built from the groundbreaking. Well, I love to volunteer, and I find that the library has a lot to offer for anybody, for all the ethnic groups that are in Chicago.
I certainly do like being a docent. The docents are wonderful, and we enjoy having the visitors come into our library, and proud to show off this wonderful, wonderful world-class facility.
When the call went out for docents, I jumped at it and I joined the first class.
Handsome facility and an exciting place to be. I love volunteering here.
We were not able to really open the library without the help of the over 140 docents who helped us in so many different ways. We moved into this library having combined what was the Cultural Center and the old Central Library at 400 North Franklin, And basically we had pretty much the same staff. We had some additional staff, but with the huge crowds we had, 10, 12, 13,000 patrons a day, the only way we could handle those crowds in terms of information, in terms of tours, was because of the docents. And quite frankly, I can't imagine our having been able to open this place without the docents. They were an absolute lifesaver, and we really, really appreciate all that they have done and that they're continuing to do for us.
Docent program volunteers are vital and valuable frontline representatives, identifiable by their uniform blazers. Their commitment benefits us all: the city of Chicago and its diverse population, the library and its dedicated staff, and visitors from around the world.